What's going on, man?
What's going on, brother?
Man, so good to see you.
Always good to see you. Always enjoy watching your shows and always good to feel your energy, bro. How's things going?
Man, things are going well. Like it was like legit. It was like semi-intimidating yesterday with that dude. He was super smart. Like you know when someone's
It's all
smart in a field that you're passionate about, and you're like, yo, I got some work to do. I'm like, I'm gonna
no,
be looking up peer-reviewed journals tonight, and like, man, this guy.
but we always got work to do, right? So it's not like that.
Absolutely.
It just starts now. We always got work to do. If you grinding, right, you always got a little bit of something you got to get on, right?
Yep.
So no, but you smart too. You're an esteemed dude too. You put in the
Yeah,
work.
man. I got my master's
Yeah.
degree. I got some letters behind my name.
That's it.
But like that's like the next letter though.
It's all good. You
Yeah,
know what? Sometimes you got that, but then you got the PhD from the streets, right? Because you had to get down
yes.
and work with some folks and do things like that. So it all comes out in the wash, right?
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
appreciate you and the growth of the show and things from the first time I was on it. I see how core conversations just blew up.
Honestly, man, like yeah, and those are the things that it, make me, it just gives me this pause because I'm like, I didn't. It's not like this was on my vision board. You know what I mean? Like we just go
No doubt.
through the thing, and I think that's kind of a reflection from yesterday. This guy's over here on this high pinnacle, and then someone can look at me, like, we'll look at him way up here on this pinnacle. Look at you and what you're doing. You're way up here, and you got your books, and you got your location, and you got your trainer of the year awards. You got some hardware behind your name, so you're doing your thing too, right?
We're trying. Once again, it's like what we say. We always the work never stops, right? It's like
Right.
you continuously. It's like this growth journey that you're on, and I think that
Yes.
that's kind of what it is. Everything is, even the unfortunate stuff. It's kind of like it's this growth journey, right? So from like
Yes.
athletics and to doing what I'm doing now to anything else to just like, and I'm sure you can attest to that too. It's just it all floats into the journey of this education and trying to be the best that you could be until
Absolutely.
they box you up and ship you off to wherever they ship you at the end of this whole thing. But it's
Yep.
trying to be the best you could be. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Man. So
so
I know
yeah.
people obviously want to just say here, like how are things going with the space, like just since like the flood and just like the whole transition, man. So like I'd love to hear like what's going on there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. The thing is, it's cool to give updates because it doesn't seem like I'm just trying. It's been challenging at best, but we back operational. Still work to be done, obviously. So it's the beauty of social media is I can give you and paint you any picture that I want to paint you a little bit. But we're
Right. Yes.
operational, and the great thing about it is, I got a great community around me as well as for me, that was the biggest education about this whole thing, and we could go real deep into that. But we were able to get this thing back up to speed in a really um, short amount of time, shorter than I expected when I first happened. So the thing is, right now, it's operational and still challenging, still a lot of stuff to be done, but at the same time, it's a level of optimism that we can make it better, and that people can come in and get their work done, and at the same time, I can exercise my passion and what I love to do. But the thing is, and like I said, we can have this conversation. Is the interesting thing about it is I always tell people about that. They bring up the personal trainer thing and they talk about the speech a lot of time. But the
Yes.
the funny thing about it is it changed in that aspect for me because it grew organically. That speech came organically because it changed from being really about the ego and vanity of the award to really being about how I got there. And it
Yes.
took me to my mom who was there, right? So in this
Yes.
same aspect, right, being in this whole situation, it went from understanding like, hey, this was a passion of mine and try to make this great place to be and things like that. But I really didn't understand really how it impacted the people, not only in this community, but the fitness community overall. So I'm just
Yes.
so appreciative that I really, it's hard for me to even form up words. It's like it's great. It's like I got some challenges this morning, but it's like you want to talk. I'm like, oh, I got to get on core conversations and talk because there's so many things. You got to. it's for the first, I think for the first time in my life, I just kind of ran out of ways to say thank you for people.
Yeah,
Like, people are
that's
sick of me saying thank you at this point. So
that's
at this point, it's like I ran out of words. So
yeah. Oh man, that's great. It's just and you see all the love you, Mike. You see the go
and
core
yeah,
coach. You know, some people are just giving you
I
some love, man.
appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it. So some
Yeah.
really good folks, man. I ain't gonna lie to you, really great folks that we get a chance to be around,
Yes.
and the impact, when we think of
Right.
that word, like it's really a really used, I would say, I won't say overused, but it's a really, it's got some tread on that word, right? And we talk about
Yes.
impact, and it's just to see like the impact that you can make on people without really knowing that that's in the industry, right?
Yes, right. Yeah, and we almost use it like I see what you're saying. Like we use it lightly, like we don't recognize the magnitude of what that actually means. Because say, oh, I want to make an impact, and then you say it, you sit back and do
Yeah,
nothing with it, right? Like
yeah. And the thing is, you just don't really know, like, when it's not just here, and that's another like global thing, right? Is the thing about it is, for me, it was really organic thing because I really wasn't posting a video to like impact people. You know what I mean? I was just
yes,
posting it because you really had, if you couldn't be here, you really wouldn't believe me if I told you what it what it was
yeah,
like, right? So it
yeah,
was like you had this. It's one of those things where you had to like be there. So I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna take video or whatever it is. And then if you remember originally, I just posted it in my story. And I think that was
yes,
like the most messages I've ever gotten ever in my life. Like,
yeah,
so it was like just to say thank you. The next was to post it to say thank you for people for just so many messages and so much support that people gave.
right.
And continue to do up to this day, people, brands, just people that care to reach out for, whatever it was, to the point where I'm like, I need to stop posting stuff because people are trying to replace this stuff.
That's too funny. Well, another part of what you did there too, like we with our posts, we give a day in the life of,
Hmm.
right? So a day in the life of for you would be throwing down a workout or trading with a client or whatever. This
Hmm.
is a day in the life of as well. So if you're going to be consistent with your post, you have to
Yeah.
show the good and the bad, the realness of what's happening. And that's what you're doing is like, well, this is what happened today. Everyone's like, what? How are you doing? What's going on? Like,
Yeah,
you know?
it was crazy, and to be honest with you, it was an ongoing process, and you kind of, it's tough because you don't want to have people on. For me, just personally, I like to, if I'm gonna try to project something, I'm gonna try to project something as positive as I can. I try not
Yes.
to, every so often you might get something that I think is interesting to post, but I try to, because it's really a message to not only, people, but to myself in a way, because it's like, all right, you might post something from somebody like a Dion like today, or
Yeah.
something that just resonates with you. It's
Yes.
like and for the most part, I didn't want to have people on the same like kind of channel where it's like, oh man, that flood's horrible. Oh man, that flood's
Yeah.
horrible. Oh man, that flood's
Yeah.
horrible. We know it's bad, It's how can after a while you gotta kind of change the page, And when I look
Yes.
at it, it's like, for me, it was one thing. It's like when you lose, I lost my pops in 2019, and a lot of the things that he said that didn't resonate with me while he was here, they resonate now, right? And it's one thing he
Yes.
used to I don't know if he always said it, but it's some things that just hit me. And it's one thing where he says, you can be poor in your circumstances, but you can't afford to be poor in your attitude, you know. And that's just,
Yes.
really how I try to take the situation. It's as rough as it could be. It sounds
Mhm.
corny, but at the same
No, it's
time,
true.
it's a tough thing to do in most situations, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, one of your posts you had there is not what you look at, is what you see, right?
Mm.
And
Yep.
that really speaks to me because like we can spend all of our time just looking at the negative and just highlighting negative and just woe is me and look how bad this is, or you can really see the bigger picture and see the challenges and the resilience and the opportunity, right? Like
Yep.
how
Yep.
like people are also watching how you actually handle this. Like
Mm.
you're a good positive quote guy when things are going great, right?
Exactly.
Right?
You, you, you know what? For me, I'm always in. people, I think everybody's got their own relationship with what they believe. For me, I'm a devoutly spiritual person, and for me, I believe that God works in everything, and He moves the hands of people, right? So when I think of it's just like you just said. You could be a great positive quote person and things will go well. It's like athletics. It's how you behave when you have a bad game that tells me what kind of player you
Yes.
really are, right?
Right.
But
Yes.
it's one thing, and we could go back to these kind of fatherly quotes, right? And
Hmm.
baseball is a funny sport. So for me, growing up playing baseball was one of those things, right? And what they used to say, and my coach used to always say this, Ray Taylor used to say, baseball's a funny game, but at the end, you're always going to have a chance to win it in the end. And it's 9 players in the lineup, but it's always going to come down to them great players at the end. And they got a chance to win the game or
Yes.
impact the game in some type of way. And that tells you who you are,
Hmm.
so, and
Yeah.
that's it. When ups, downs, and things like that, you try to do the best you can, and everything else. And that's just the way I kind of flow when I think about it. When I think about it, it's a lot of things. It's about keeping the faith, right? Keeping the
Yeah.
faith,
Absolutely.
and people might preach that, but do you live that?
Right. Um, yes. Let me throw another quote at you. I love unpacking these quotes, man. Like I like just like talking.
Hit me.
Let's just drop some philosophical on you here.
I love it.
The cost of regret exceeds the price of discipline.
Mm. So that goes back. We can go back to sports again, right?
Yes.
So for me,
Piercyisms. Yes. I love
Piercyism. You know what's funny? It's like, and I'll hit right back. So if I forget it, just let me know. If somebody asked me one day at a conference or something, he's like, "Where do you get your quotes?" And I'm like, "From reading." Like it's just reading and what resonates. But it's funny. I think that, like
that.
you just said, people will throw up quotes or whatever it is. But just for me, it's what resonates me in that moment, right? So when I
Yes.
think of what you were just saying, read the quote again. What was the quote?
The cost of regret exceeds the price of discipline.
So think about it like if I look at, I always like to throw. I think sports is a great metaphor for life, right? And for me, I
Absolutely.
spent 99.9% of my life in the minor leagues, right? So it's like
Yes.
but in the minor leagues, trying to get to something,
Yeah.
and you're trying to get to the big leagues. And the one thing
Yes.
about it, right, is I always would like to think that if I don't hit that pinnacle of that goal, right? I
Yes.
know I shot every damn missile I had at it. I did everything I could, and when I walk away from it to go and do this, I don't have
Yes.
nothing, no regrets. It's like when people say leave everything you have on the field, and
Mhm.
if I don't know. I'm not at the end, but I think that if you live your life like that, or if you put that into your work, I think that you're gonna be much better off for it, and then you could live with the results. You know what I mean? We could
Yes.
live with the results. If I
Absolutely.
know, and that's just that's something that me and you we kick it on. It's like
Mhm.
that's the one thing about what we were just talking about, like growth and personal development. You
Yes.
did everything you could to be the best possible coach you could be, or give everything you could to an athlete to help
Right.
them get better in their journey, right? And that's kind of really
Absolutely.
where my life is now.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Well, I think about that too, like with my kind of athletic career too. Went to
Hmm.
university, played university ball, never saw a down in
All
university
good.
ball, right? Like, see, I mean, so
Hmm.
you come into it and you're like all Canadian, top recruit, all this. You think you're gonna waltz on the field and then star on your first game, and then I never broke the roster, the dressing roster. So there
Mm.
was this huge identity crisis that comes with that. But then at the same time, there's that sense of I did my best, I tried my hardest, I found all the different things about myself. I had the biggest revelation of all for me was quite simply realizing that I'm not a football player. I
Mm.
am a man that plays football.
Boom. And that's so powerful, like what you just said.
Right.
And I think that's a hard thing for all of us. I think that in this thing is like you get so tied up into what you do, right? And
Yes.
and when you look at what you just your whole story, I guarantee you worked your ass off the whole time you were there.
Yep.
So at the
Yep.
end, it's no regrets. But I think that when you look at that, I think everything in life prepares you for what's next, right? So
Absolutely.
when you look at a lot of what I carry from, my time playing ball, and I'm sure you carry with you from your time, regardless of what it was, is you carry that same work ethic, but it's also things that you had to work on, I often tell people that there's certain things, everybody's got something that they can really do well that they don't really understand it. Like it's
Right.
if you go back and you watch The Last Dance, everybody quotes from it, right? And then it's
Yes.
what
Yes.
you take from it. I always look at there was the one guy and he was trying to, I forgot his actual name, but he was trying to push the guy and he was like, I could never get him. I tried to get him to fight me. I tried to get him to do whatever. And then
Yes.
when they sat him down, he demands perfection, right? He demands people to play at a certain level, but he doesn't understand that only he can really approach those levels. It's something
Yes.
that's why a lot of really great athletes don't always make great coaches because they got
Right.
something
Right.
that they could do that kind of just they can't teach it to you. It just happens. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not
Right.
that they
Right.
didn't put it, yeah, not that they didn't put in the amount of work that you put in, but it's something that they can kick on that, for me it was speed. That's what got me
Mm.
to where it was. It's like I could break down, form and things like that. But I didn't grow up breaking down form. It was my gift. You know what I mean? We
Right.
raced pole
Yes.
to pole on my block, for money, and things like
Yes.
that. And that was what we did. And at the
Right.
end of the day, it was how you got, a little cash or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
but that was what it was. That's the special sauce, like somebody just said. It's
Yes. For
like
sure. Yeah.
Dion. Dion's got his thing. It's like
Yes.
and I think that for us, when you had to work on certain things, you
Yes.
understand the finite amount of detail that it takes that you got to put in to really
Yes.
achieve a certain level,
Right.
and
Right.
because you had to do so much, you could never show up, just
Right.
show up.
It's interesting. I was thinking about that for me. For it was strength, right? Like I mean, even though I wasn't,
Hmm.
I was like bench press, all these tests. I'd be like number one, number two at every test, and then I'm like, well, why can't I get on the field? Like I'm the strongest guy here, So that sort of thing. So we have certain things that we're natural at, and then there's other things that we miss, right? So
Yeah.
I think those are the takeaways now. Okay, so how do I become more well-rounded? How do I prepare fully for these things? So we take that into our clients, we take it into our life, right? We can sit back on our
Hmm.
talents and we almost become one-dimensional, right? Like how do we
Hmm.
broaden that out in different ways? So yeah, that comes full circle to this guy yesterday too, right? Like I could throw down exercises behind me all day, but I don't have a PhD. So how do I,
You
you know?
know what?
No,
It's funny though,
I'm
but you
just playing.
actually do.
Yes,
I think that you actually
yes.
do, and I think that the education for us, right, is the realm of. I mean, that's great, but the funny thing is, you could still do that if you wanted to do it. It's much
Absolutely.
is
Yes.
in this if that's something you aspire to,
Mm.
but it's one of those things where it's like when you got your master's. It's what is this going to do for me in the long run? It's not to discount what his accomplishments at all,
No,
because
right.
that's definitely major. Um, but at the same time, you've been putting in a lot of work,
Yes.
in the Pilates realm, in the studio, putting together
Yes.
programs and working with people. So it's almost like I said, you got the PhD from the streets.
Absolutely.
You've
Yeah.
been,
It's true. It's true. Now, this is almost tongue in cheek. I'm just trying to make it real with the conversation. The reality is that my master's is in counseling and I'm in fitness, so it's not even
It's
relevant
all
in some.
good.
It's all good, right? We're here, but um, but this is my question though. Like we go through all these ups and downs and stuff like that. Would you
Mhm.
say though, Michael, this was one of your lowest points, or is this like one of those other checkpoints where like, okay, just another thing I need to like find my cadence and find my rhythm and whatever, like the flood and
You
just like the financial impact of that and stuff. Like, would you say that this is one of those lower points?
um, it would go in it's more complex than I would think when it comes to that, and when I
Yeah.
would say to you, in the moment, it definitely was because you're standing in. For me, I'll take you back to 5 a.m. in the morning. I was driving here and I was trying to get to the building, and then the picture that I showed people wasn't even as bad as it was before. And then I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
trying, for me, I thought that getting into the building would be like maybe some puddles of water. I had to shot back or whatever it is. I was not expecting 2 to 3 feet up, water up to the knee, trying to, you know,
Yeah.
basically. So standing in, I couldn't even stay in for a little while. I had to, I'm like, I got to go home and come back because right now,
It's,
um,
yeah.
I got nothing on this one right here. But you know what's,
Yes.
this is where it gets complex, right? And if you said, would it be the lowest? I would say that in the midst of that, I got a call from a really good friend. Well, I didn't get a call, I got a text, and I had been checking back and forth. and their mom had passed, you know, and I realized that although this was really bad, you know, and I definitely, it's not one of the greatest things ever happened. I would go through 70 of these not to bury another parent. You know what I mean? Not to bury, you know. So it's like when you put it into perspective, um, I'll take you to a story, and I'm gonna take you. It's one of those things where you remember in moments, right? And it's like almost like a movie. You know how something happens and you think of it, or it happened. The wording happened so you could hear it then.
Yes, yes.
So I'll take you back to I'm 17. I got my first license. I bought my first car. All right, I bought my first car. Went out the first day, ran a stop sign, crashed the car. Crashed the car
No.
on my first day. On my first day. So completely broken, shattered, depressed, blah, blah, blah. Sat in the car for the longest. And my pops came down, and I'm sitting in the car, and he said, why are you sitting in the car? And he never really spoke that much. When he did say things, they kind of resonated. And one thing he said, never put your faith in material things because they always going to let you down. You know, and in that moment, I heard that, you know, and for me, I said, you know what, all right, what's the next step? In my house, it was always, you know, no matter what happened, you had a day to chill on it and be upset about it, but
Right.
now it's time to move on. We got to figure out the next steps. We're not going to get mired in that. You know, you're going to give you one day to sulk around, and then, you know, what's our plan from here on? So that was kind of what it is. It's not like yeah, I post quotes, you know, but you're down, you know, that one puts you down a little bit, you know.
Yes.
And then you had some tough moments, you know, but the thing is, I'll say it, I can't take credit for it, to be honest with you. The fitness, our community, and for me, it was reaffirming in the fact that, you know, for me, I chose the right path in my life, career, whatever it is.
Yes.
I can give you all the really flowery quotes and things like that, but people really, you know, my community here, from people offering to come, and, you know, people offering to help, and, you know, people who came down, gave her their time, resources, energy. I mean, I'm not a person that it's easy for me to ask for help. So I had cousins that set up a GoFundMe page for me, and I didn't, you know, I wasn't happy about it, but they ran the show. And it's because they love you and they know that about you.
Right.
But so many people, brands, you know, if, you know, the thing is, you know, people from BOSU, American Council of Exercise, ACE, Dynamax, you know, people who, you know, came through and just said, listen, you know, we got you. And, you know, and then the thousands of people, I mean, who did stuff. But I mean, there were people who popped in, and I mean, I remember I was going through, and they'll remember this. It was two good friends of mine, Jeff Sullivan and Billy Della Rosa, who came through the one day, and I had my community of amazing people who they all showed up to help. But there was one day, and we had got to about the middle half of doing stuff, and it was still like crashed and stuff all over the floor and everywhere. And I remember I walked in one morning, and I was like, man, I'm over this. And I turned around to take off. And then I got a call from somebody, and he's like, I'm in the parking lot right now, you know, and I think we must have did probably about a week's worth of work in maybe one day, you know, but them brothers brought me back, because at that point I was like, I was fatigued, I was crashed. Yeah. And, you know, and, you know, that's the tough thing. There's always a lesson. There's always a blessing, right? And the lesson is, you know, it's like my cousin says, she's like, you got to let people help you. And it's a tough thing for a lot of us to do.
Honestly. My mom says, that's my mom, man. Like, my brother's here, and he said something about my Aunt Phyllis, who used to always get on me when I started to get miserable about stuff. The two of those women, man, the one was she would always say, don't rob me of my blessing. I'm here to help you. I'm here to do this. Like, don't rob me of my blessing by declining it out of your own pride, sort of thing, right? So, yeah, so I hear you on that. But this is good to hear. Much like one of those guys I had on last week, Michael Johnson, was saying, like, he was talking about the Pilates community and how, like, amazed and impressed he was at how people are coming together and community, all this warm fuzzy stuff. And so same thing today. Like you're talking about how the community came together, the fitness community, your immediate community, brands, all these things. If you look at just what's happening in the media, you think that the world is absolutely terrible and that there's no humanity left and that people of our skin tone aren't getting any support whatsoever. Like, you know what I'm saying?
No.
Like you would believe that like there's
Yeah.
no hope. And then if you are a white business owner, that you'd be getting love and support a community and brands,
Hmm.
and then you know what I'm saying, like, and then but we're hearing that and you have that support and you have like corporate support and you have community support and you have global support and like, so it's refreshing to hear that. I'm glad that you're receiving that. I'm glad that you're vocalizing it too, because I the messages get so negative that we never actually hear the positives of what's happening in our world today, you know?
Yeah, and to be honest, it is so unexpected, but I can't implore it enough. Like I said, I ran out of ways. It's for the first time in life. I hope I have more moments like this. I don't know. It's one of those things that will always stand out to me. But I'm just ran. I'm like, people are sick of me saying thank you. So it's like, but
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it was completely unexpected. But it's like you said, it was completely something that was unexpected, and it wasn't contrived in any type of way. And it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
people who gave freely of their time, energy, and resources that didn't have to do that,
Right. Right.
that completely didn't have to do it. And in a lot of ways might be, not completely where they want to be in themselves,
Mm-hmm.
So it was like one of those things where you just felt like, um, for a while it sat down, it's like, man, it, there's an impact with a lot of people, like a lot of
Yes.
people, you can touch a lot of people, and you never know where you are in other people's lives, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
mean, I'm so super. I mean, I couldn't. You have stuff that happens. It's like we talked a little bit earlier, about the challenges every day. Like for me, I really don't have one thing that I could say that I don't feel positive about, even no matter what it is right now, because
Right.
it's like it's just been such a changing experience just to
Yes.
see people, say, this isn't the it was always important to me, and it's a physical space, but it was
Yeah.
important to other people because of how it impacted and resonated with them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No,
yeah,
I
so
hear
I
you,
thought it
man.
was.
Yeah, I hear, and it's so funny, like just hearing from our first conversation, you're a humble guy, you're a grateful guy, and I could hear how you've been humbled and how you've been become even more grateful. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, man. I
uh,
I
that's good.
what's funny is I think that like I think when you look at this, it's like, how can you pay it forward, right?
Yes,
It's
yes.
like it's always been that thing. Is how can you pay it forward? I'll always remember, like I brought up that 5 a.m. thing, and
Mhm.
there's not just my place here on this street. Like there was houses across the street, and there was a
Yes.
guy out across the street that he was up to his chest in water, like just up to his
Yeah,
chest, yelling
yeah,
at cars because cars are driving and they're spraying more water into his home,
yeah,
and it's just crazy. So it's like, as
yeah.
bad as it was, and it was not good. It was not good, and in a
Yeah.
lot of ways, there'll be some stuff, and there should be some stuff should remind you, because you can
Yes.
once I feel that once again that we get better. I'm a comeback
Absolutely.
story type of person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's come on now, we're underdogs.
Right. Yeah.
If you weren't a bonus baby. You don't, you weren't. You always
Yep.
love the great story, right? So,
Yes.
I do. I am excited, but for me, everything is with gratitude, because it's not really my place anymore now. It's the fitness industry's
Yes.
place. It's not my place. They took it. It's like their
Yes.
place. So now
But it's
it's the
always
duty
been
and
their
purpose.
place. Like if you
That's
stop and think about it, we are the stewards of something that is greater than us.
true indeed. True indeed in every way. And you're absolutely correct. But once again, it's back to that quote, right? It's how you see things,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
in your daily grind, it might be, and we let me know if we get too far in the weeds, but it's like you walk in every day, you turn on your lights, you teach your 6 a.m. class, you teach maybe your lunch class, you teach your 6 p.m. And it's usually get through the day, right? You're not
Yeah.
thinking of, but when you see like the people that have jumped on and speak, it's you never know what you're giving and what they're like, how important it is in their lives. And for
Yes.
my people, they showed up in force. We were out
Hmm.
cooking out on the side while people were washing down
Yeah.
equipment and, you know, flipping things over. The most painful part was watching, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars equipment go riding off in the back of a pickup truck to the dumpster. but
Yeah.
once again, it's stuff. It's stuff.
Yeah.
And
Don't cry for
you
something that can't cry for you, right?
nope, nope. That's a great one right there. I love that one. Don't cry for something that won't cry for you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's tough.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna share this story, but I was just thinking about just the
Okay.
gratitude of different people. I have
Hmm.
a friend of mine when I was working in drop-ins and youth work before I came to fitness. A young guy that I was working with, he committed a really, really bad crime, him and some buddies, and he ended up going to jail for it. And life sentence, did like,
Hmm.
his 10, 15 years parole and just got out 4 years ago. So he's been living at his mom's house, working at a convenience store in like the Oakville area, like 20 minutes away from here. So he's now come out
Hmm.
at 35 after doing, the minimum years for his life sentence, living with his mom, work at this convenience store. And just in the last few weeks, there came an opportunity for this convenience store in the base of a condo across the street, and he was able to buy it. He saved up enough
Hmm.
cash that he could then go in and buy this convenience store with a partner, and the partner just bailed on him. So now he's running the store all by himself
Wow.
and doing great. Like he's got his margins, he understands the business. He's got like this little pocket of this convenience store in the base of a condo. So there's 500 apartments above him that come down, grab a coffee. I used to talk to him the whole time he was in jail, and he talked about
Hmm.
opening a restaurant one day. So he bought a little fridge and he makes sandwiches for people to buy for their lunches and stuff. And he has the dreams
Yo.
of like making enough cash there to like start this restaurant
Hmm.
one day and use the seed for it. And man, like talk about overcoming obstacles and staying positive and just finding ways to just dig yourself out of your own pit.
Hmm.
Like I'm just so inspired. That was just something that happened earlier this week, and I
No,
was
that's
gonna put
amazing.
pictures up and stuff. And I don't want to like get too deep in the weeds with his story per se,
No, that's a
but to
great
say
story.
that, man, like I couldn't be prouder for him, and just couldn't be happier just to know that like over the last 15 years, like calls from prison and like just, the
Hmm.
whole nine, just like staying in contact with this guy. Man, we like, yeah, he just looks as another challenge, right? Another hiccup, and just like, let's make the most of it. I have today,
Yeah,
right?
and
So,
it goes back to that thing. For us, I think that it says we can be poor in our circumstances, but we can't afford to be poor in our attitude.
right.
And it's a tough way to be, because it's easy to, you know, it's funny. I don't remember where I got this kind of quote from, but it's like it's kind of weeds don't need any encouragement to grow. I think it was Les Brown or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They'll
yeah,
grow
yeah.
from the cracks in the sidewalk. They'll grow whatever. But if you want to grow, really exotic flowers or anything that really you want to see,
Yes.
it's gonna take processes and things like that. And then it often and that takes you getting through the challenges and things like that to kind of grow
Yes.
yourself. So that story is just that's a phenomenal story. Yeah, you definitely want to share that one. I don't even know why you would
Yeah.
even hesitate. But that's what it is.
Yes.
It's
That's
like just
true.
when you think you got some stuff going on, man, it's corny, but it always could be worse, right?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
You know, and you
Yeah.
could go
Yeah.
through all this and be on your own, right? But in this whole thing, this we really do. It's great to. It was, I mean, phenomenal for me. And the essence is to understand that that positivity for us is out there. That's what this whole thing
Yes.
is here for.
Yeah. Absolutely. The key to realizing dreams is not to focus on our success, but on significance. Small successes
Nice.
allow
So,
your path. Yeah, so small successes allow your path to take on greater meaning. So the key piece in there is like success, not significance. Sorry, yeah, focus on significance, not success. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
The funny, I say the funny thing a lot, but the thing about that is it's interesting. Like the word, I don't know. I have this thing with the word success because I guess I don't know. It's a tough word because it's like I guess it's what how you consider it, right?
right.
It's like people will say you've been successful in a certain way, but for you, you know that it is. Does the success mean cars and wealth to you, or does it mean some type of impact that might last on for
Hmm.
you after it leaves? And for me, I think that that's really what it is. It was kind of like we go through this thing where we'll talk a lot about generational things, right? And they'll talk
Yes.
about generational curses, generational things like that. Is
Blessings.
how
Yes.
can you, from, thinking about where you come from and what you have, how can you move the ball forward? And I think that that's really what it is. When I think of
Yes.
significance, that's what I think of. I mean, I I guess in some way, fine if that's the way that
Yeah.
look at it. But for,
Sorry, there was a
you
bit
know,
of a pause there, Mike. 1 second.
oh, no, it might
Okay.
have been something
Yeah.
coming through me. Uh, yeah, so
Yes, sir. Can you just repeat that?
I think that when you think of success and it's how you define it, right? And
Yes.
I might be able to repeat it better than I said it first. So success is it might be defined as people as wealth, money, things like that. I
Right.
think that for me, when I look at significance, it's do you are you building something that has an impact, but something that can live on after you go?
Yes. Yes.
And when I look at things now, it's like, what are you doing to move the ball forward so that the people come after you have a better chance at it, than you
Yes.
had? For
Right.
me personally, um, some of those quotes they come personal because the thing is, I didn't come from a place where you had a lot of resources to build something like what we have. So
Yes.
standing in 3 feet of water, watching your brand new equipment float by you is not a good day for you. you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but my dream was always to build something really cool, and then I wanted to be able to give athletes the same coaching that I didn't have access to, in a
Yes.
lot of ways.
Yeah.
But that was something that this, for me, it's a single owner, putting all their resources into building it. So
Yes.
for me, I wanted to be something significant that, lives on and lasts on so that, other athletes, these same athletes maybe, they have younger brothers, kids or
Yeah.
whatever that
Right.
come here and train and, grew up here and things like that. And
Mhm.
for me, that labels significance.
Absolutely. So have you
Yeah.
had like some young baseball player that looks like you walk in and you're just like, let's go?
You know what? I think they come in different waves. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
I've had a couple athletes. I don't know if baseball's been one.
Mhm.
Um, I've had athletes that come in that remind me because I wasn't
Yeah.
always like this. So there's a lot of rough
There's
edges
some
that
rough
street me
edges.
to somebody. Oh,
Yes.
some. It was a
Yeah.
lot. It
Yeah.
took a lot to get here.
Yeah.
So I definitely, and I don't want to be the old man and say kids are different, but I guess they're not
Right.
different. Maybe we see them different because we ain't kids no more. So
That's a nice spin.
you know,
Yeah.
it's I guess we look at it differently. The game from when I played has changed a lot.
Mhm.
But I see shadows and kids have a lot of the same things. So the thing is, when I look
Yeah.
at it, I try to I think that us as coaches, that one of the jobs is we try to steer them past the things that we did that were definitely we had to learn, by
Yes.
kind of falling down. If I can steer you past the fall and then you can
Yes.
get to the next level one step better than me,
Right.
that's
Right.
great. I love the fact that for me, I think that for an athlete like that would come in like myself or or somebody else, for me the great thing is to try to have them understand that for me my journey as far as athletically is done in that respect, right?
Yeah.
The only joy I can get is to see you go one step forward.
Yes.
So if
Yeah.
that means I can steer you past things, so kind of answer the question. I see shadows and ghosts of me in a lot of them. So when you see them post, it ain't always cool drills. There's a lot of it's a lot of lectures and a lot of other stuff that they come here for. And they would get on here and do their best imitations of the lectures that they get every day. But
I'll track them
that's
down.
that's it. That's it. That's your next core conversation. You have them sit in the chair
Yeah,
and give
get
their
the
Mike Piercy
Piercyisms.
impression. Yeah,
Yeah,
their Piercyisms. It's like, oh, I love
yeah,
that one again.
that's awesome. No, yeah, that's like I hear on that, and that significance piece, and just like those small
Hmm.
steps, and just recognizing those little things are so key, right? I was just thinking, like I haven't
Yeah,
really,
when you think about it.
yeah, there's a bit of a pause there. Go ahead.
No, oh, I thought, yeah, I might have thrown you off. I think about it like a book, right? If you're gonna write a book, are you writing a book because you want to get rich, or are you writing a book because you want the knowledge that you give somebody to help help them move forward in their life? And I think that's when we think about success. It's you could want to just write a bestseller, or you could want to write something that really creates a lasting impact in somebody's life. And I think
Yeah,
that's the book we're all writing. I
yeah,
know you are, and I know that's what I'm
absolutely.
shooting for.
Yeah, like we said, impact. This is where the impact rubber hits the road for me is that every job that I've taken, I've measured in terms of the scope of influence that I can have, as opposed to the compensation that I'm going to get.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
um, when I was in social work, there was a time when the police force had reached out to me and said, like, we'd love to have you come on as a constable. You really know the community, you have a pulse on what's happening in the community, and then rolled out the red carpet for me. Like the deputy chief was calling me. He knew I worked at a nonprofit organization already, and thought, like, we just let you have it. And I decided not to, because I recognized that people would fear a badge more than they'd respect the influence I could have. Like
Mm.
those Piercyisms wouldn't be heard because they'd be afraid of the gun on my hip, right? So
Hmm.
I decided to stay in social work because like I feel like I can have a greater impact proactively here than reactively over there.
Hmm. The thing, this is the thing I love talking to you about. This is just off the record. Is
Yeah.
I don't even like you. You every so often you throw in some Canadian references, and I'm like constable. Like I'm like I'm like constable,
Policeman,
the police,
officer,
head
uh,
police officer. And I'm
yeah,
like, all right, constable. No,
just
I get what you're
just roll
saying.
with it.
No, I love that. I'm like, for me, I think we're like talking in New Jersey, and then you drop constable on me. It's all good. I'm sure I do the same for you. I
Yeah.
love it. Um, no, you're absolutely right. But I think that when you look at social work and police, both noble fields when done with that significance that we talked about, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
growing up, my mom was a social worker. I grew up half my life, in and out of DIFAS offices, watching things that happen, Division of Youth and Family Services offices, and things like that. It's just noble fields, right? And
Mhm.
like you said, sometimes it resonates differently when you drop those, kind of those jewels of knowledge and wisdom for people. But um,
Yeah.
you find a way to create that significance within the space that you're in, which you have done, in
Yeah.
social work, and even with what you're doing now, even from, just not even the Pilates atmosphere, from dropping, core conversations and just having people on that you respect, and
Yeah.
having them share their life journey.
Right. 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 Thanks, man. The one of the words I wrote down earlier, just as it's 10 minutes to the hour already.
Got you.
Um, yeah. So the one of the words I wrote down just as you were talking was cultivate.
Mm, mm,
And like you said, weeds can grow anywhere. But if I want to have a beautiful garden, if I want to have specific plants growing and thriving, that
mm,
takes cultivating,
mm,
right? And I think the exact same way for this character, this positivity to live these quotes out, to handle, situations like this. That's us cultivating our character in those ways, taking
mm.
advantage of these opportunities to say, okay, what am I going to do with this? How do I
Yeah.
make this soil fertile for other things to grow other than bitterness and resentment and you know yeah.
You you know what? It's interesting. I think, and it comes with time. Once again, like I said, I can't say it enough. For me, a lot of it wasn't me. It was my people. They put out energy like no other. The fitness industry put out energy like no other, and I think that was the lesson. It's like you can go as far as you can go, and then you run out of gas. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you get hit, with something else. And then you're like, everybody's been to that point where you're like, I can't, if one more damn thing happens, I'm
Yeah.
gonna, but if you can, if we can kind of open it up, and then that cultivate, like it's to cultivate the culture that you have, for me, I think that you look at, if I looked at where we are as kind of like, we talk about cultivation and culture and things like that.
Yep.
This is like, somebody said it to me the other day. I didn't even think about it because I'm just so daft at just doing things, at routine. I'm a baseball player. Like routine is
It's
king.
just
But
yeah, yes.
yeah, somebody said it the other day. It was like, because it's like, are you, well, because my people basically, who my, my lab, I mess with them. I'm like, you guys got a Mike's Gonna Die chain letter going around? Because they're all hitting me like, are you resting? Are you resting? Are you sleeping? Are you doing whatever?
Right.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, what the hell is everybody? Y'all got a chain letter going around? And so
Yeah.
somebody, I was doing one of my people who's been with me the longest. I was doing a virtual session, and she's just like, this is the fourth major event, so it's all right
Mm.
if you rest a little bit, but
Yes.
it's the going and trying to do everything. But when I look at it, each one of those things helped increase our culture because we got through those things together. You
Yes.
know, whether at first that was my direction or whatever it is, when you look at, we could just look at, and then somebody, posted this and it was like the best way. If 18 months wasn't enough, this now you got a flood, you know what I mean? And I think
Right.
that, I thought it was one of the best, somebody was sharing, trying to help. And I thought that it was one of the best ways of summing it up, right?
Yeah.
But you got through a pandemic and that increased your culture because every time you go through a challenge, I think it obviously takes a lot out of you, right? So it takes something
Yes.
away, but also it leads to, what did they tell you as an athlete, right? You got to have that highlight reel in your head, especially like,
Yes.
because baseball, 30% of the time you're gonna get a hit, the other 70 you're gonna go sit down, you
Right.
know.
Right. Yeah.
But you got to have that highlight reel in your head that says, I've done this before. I've
Yes.
made this catch before. I've
Yes.
gotten this out before. I've made this shot before. I've scored this touchdown before. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
The thing is, if you have that, oh, I've made this interception before. You know what I mean? That's that
Mhm.
thing. So I think for all of us, is you have gotten through some of the, obviously it's like, you asked a great question. Like, was this one of your lowest lows? Like, I get, yes, it was. Pandemic wasn't great either with mandatory closures.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
we I don't believe in luck. I believe in blessings. So I think that, like, I think we were blessed in a lot of ways. And then, if you get the lesson, then maybe you don't have to go through it again.
Right.
um,
But
but
yes.
but
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
prefer not to. But I
Yeah.
think that when you look at it, it increased the culture, and for me,
Yeah.
it makes this, because it's not done. I mean, just because you get operational, we still got ways to go to get back to where, or well, not get back. I don't believe in getting back, to get better than where we were before. Um,
Yes.
but I think that with our culture, it brings you together, and you have some really awesome people. And if you can kind of tag into that and understand that, we can all be better for it. You know what I mean? And I think that
Absolutely.
that's a great thing.
Yeah. So what are you doing for rest? Since someone brought that up, when your people are actually calling you accountability on that.
Oh, not one of my people. They had a whole chain letter going around. I must have got
Yes.
like on. Yeah,
Yeah.
they claimed they didn't, but they had definitely a Mike's Gonna Die chain letter going around.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the funny thing is, those those days are. It's almost like you feel like you can't, because if you're
True.
trying to get back up and running for. I really can't say it enough. It's like all of a sudden it became, you said it also. It's like it never was mine. I felt like it was mine, but for all of these people, it's a place in their life, man. So you
Yes.
got to get it back. You got to get the machine back going, because it's for them, you know what I mean, and what they put into it,
Yes.
because people spent a Saturday or a Sunday coming down. You had people who drove from Boston and Baltimore and places like that to come, and just, and then
Yes.
people who wanted to, who, maybe, didn't link up right. But I'm just so appreciative to everybody, but it meant so much to them that they wanted to have that and put that time in and do those things.
Right.
So if you say, what are you doing for rest? You know, I'm not the best at that. I am the world's greatest recovery hypocrite, or one of them. So
When you're on purpose, right? Like when you're on a mission.
oh yeah,
I,
yeah.
I hear you on that. I'm talking to myself when I ask you that. Because I see that, like we just talked about impact and significance and all these things and community. So it's like, well, if I'm gonna have the greatest impact and be significant, leave a legacy, then I need to get this done right now. We'll rest
Hmm.
later,
Yeah.
right?
Or when they used to say when you play, sleep when you're dead.
Sleep when you're dead.
But
Yeah.
that's not the best way to look at it. So you know
Yeah.
what I do for rest, I'll be honest with you now, and it's probably corny because people who know me will say, "Oh, well, it's because it's football season." But I don't I taught a lot of before pandemic, I taught a lot of courses, right? So I used
Okay.
to teach 3 to 4 courses a month. But that usually consisted of getting up on a Sunday, being somewhere like New York or somewhere else, and teaching from 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 or whatever it is every Sunday. Trying to just keep everything going. Um, the pandemic wiped a lot of that out. You were doing virtual, whatever it is, but for me, it forced me to spend a lot of time here, and I realized that the week never ends if I'm doing that constantly. So now my
Yeah.
Sundays, I don't it's just to leave space to not do anything if I don't want to. So I don't let people schedule me Sunday. I don't let people do anything Sunday.
Yeah.
Even if it's not football, it's the day. It doesn't even have to be sleeping in. I'll still be in the gym a lot of times, but I'll just do things that I want to, kind of get done. But nothing really formalized that, I have to do on Sunday. So I just kind of
Yes.
make that my day. And I think that I won't ever go back to like kind of doing that where I have things laced in on Sundays anymore.
Yes. That
So
counts.
that's my recovery kind of coup
That
d'etat, I
counts.
gudon't. It counts, man. He's like
That counts.
spoken like kindred spirits. That counts,
Yeah,
right?
that counts. Yeah. I don't say
It's
like you
like
had
the
to go to a
drinkers. That's
spa or like, yeah.
yeah, I'm not a spa type of dude, and then I argue with people because I'm not a beach type of dude either. Like I'd be on the beach for about 15 minutes, and I'm like, oh, I should be doing something.
You're right.
Like I should be running out here, or I should
You're
be
right.
doing something else. Like it's like, yeah, that's just how my brain works. So
Yep.
I don't know.
No, man. No, I feel you on that though. So, um, yeah, we're done for time, man. But
I appreciate you, baby.
man, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you coming out and like carving out this hour. Even is just like your time. You know what I'm saying? Like in terms of, I'm sure everyone's gonna be pulling you in every single different direction today. So thank you so much for taking a minute to just share and just I
No,
love
I
having
think
people here cheering you on.
no, I love being on here with you. You always do a great job with the interviews and questions and things like that. And I love seeing how just the show has grown and everything else, and it's going to keep growing. And it's because of your great energy and the things that you put in and how you pour into the people that you interview. And I appreciate you having me on because it gives me a chance to update people because I sometimes feel bad like people have done so much that they do deserve updates. So I kind of just pop a video on there like, hey, it looks great. But I feel like I don't want to. Like I said, I feel like they're kind of sick of me saying thank you at this point.
Yeah,
If they didn't, so it's a chance for me to say thank you to people again, and just express my love and everything. For this awesome industry that we're in,
yeah,
and I don't think I've ever loved it more, because people like yourself and everybody else, they've just done everything they could to make this situation completely better for me, and I appreciate that so much.
yes.
So I appreciate you, brother, and I appreciate, that's why I said, hey, listen, no matter what's going on, I'm gonna try to move something around so we can kick it.
Yeah, man, appreciate it.
And I appreciate you thinking enough of me to invite me on.
You're that important. That you are. All right. Thank you so much. Thanks to everybody who is here in the chat. I really appreciate you coming, cheering on, and just dropping your love on us. I really appreciate that. All right, man. I'll sign you up. I'll send you the replay, man. You can use this for your updates for people.
All right, brother, I appreciate you. Have a
All
good
right,
one,
man.
and
Thank you.
talk to you soon. Later.
All right. Take care, sir.